1, 2, 3, 4. What up, y'all? Babylon 5 Podcast. It's your boy, Jermaine Event. How are you guys doing? This is episode 200, ladies and gentlemen. We've made it to episode 200 weeks in a row of this thing right here. If you guys have been here for 200 weeks straight, you guys deserve like a medal or something, man. I appreciate you guys for being here. Shout out to any of the new subscribers, new to the channel. If you don't know, if this is your first time, this is the Babylon 5 Podcast, where we mainly focus on combat sports, the UFC, but I'll talk about whatever I feel like talking about at whatever moment. But it seems like most weeks I just want to talk about MMA, and that's fine. That's lovely. I'll always do as I feel is best for the podcast, ladies and gentlemen. But this is episode 200. Yeah, that's it. I don't have anything prepared for. This is my favorite moment over the last 200 episodes. Maybe that would be more of a 201st episode or some shit like that. I don't know. I don't be having time like that. But yeah, it's episode 200. Welcome to the Babylon 5 Podcast. We are going to talk about UFC Fight Nights Cannonier Vettori Cannonier, aka UFC Vegas 75. We're gonna talk about that fight and other fights on that card. You know, we're not gonna just not talk about my boy Arman Tsarukyan. We're definitely gonna talk about Arman Tsarukyan. We might even talk about Arman Petrosyan. Might even talk about Arman Petrosyan on this podcast, but of course we also are going to talk about UFC Jacksonville, UFC on ESPN. Next week we have a early card. It starts at about, 11 Central Time? Yeah, it'll be 11 a.m. Central Time is when next week's card starts, which is lovely. Do your cards like that every week. Start your cards at 11 a.m. every week. And you got a happy camper out of Jermaine, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have a happy camper out of Jermaine. I was going to talk about this whole Conor McGregor situation. Damn. It just hit me that I was like, I kind of wanted to talk about Jon Jones and Francis, but I didn't set it up in here and completely forgot about it until right now. But yeah, I was going to touch on the Conor McGregor situation. But there's just a lot of moving factors with this Conor situation. Like, I don't even feel comfortable. When the original story came out, I was like, who the fuck wrote this crazy ass script? This is wild. I'll just briefly touch on it here. If you guys have seen that Conor McGregor was at the Miami Heat basketball game in Miami in the finals. He did a skit where he punches the mascot, and he ended up actually sending the nigga in the suit to the hospital. Broke that nigga's face. But then some woman after the event, some woman claims that Conor McGregor. Well, this is her claim. I'll just touch on it briefly here. Her claim on Conor McGregor was that she was at the game, all right, and at the end of the game, Miami Heat security, right? She's suing Conor McGregor and the Miami Heat, and I believe the security company, the third-party security company that works at the Miami Heat basketball games, and she's saying the Miami Heat security came up to her and strategically, this is what it said in the report, strategically separated her from her friend and just like forcefully ushered her into a men's bathroom in the back. And then they closed the door on her. And she's just in the bathroom, right? This is what the story says. And then Conor McGregor pops out of the bathroom stall. And she's just like, oh my God, let me out of here. And he's like, okay, but after you do this, and she's claiming assaults happened, and she's being forced to stay there by Conor's security. Suddenly they were in the room. And she said she was able to escape by like a series of elbows. This small woman is claiming she just threw like 3 elbows to champ Conor McGregor, and that got this fucking incest coked out animal all over her, allegedly. When I read that part of it, I was like, you elbowed Conor off of you? You're small. You're small. Donald Cerrone couldn't even do that. I don't know. A lot of the story, nigga was already in the bathroom, popped out like a rapey Batman. I was like, whoa. This story seems crazy. Then the next day, or maybe a few hours later, TMZ drops the footage of Conor, the accuser, and her friend casually walking, holding hands to get, like, they're all holding hands, and they're casually walking to the bathroom, and then security, like, stands in front to stop other people from coming in the bathroom. And then later on in the day, TMZ dropped a video of Conor and the girl hanging out at a nightclub after the game. They was still kicking it after the game. So, worst case scenario, Conor is a piece of shit. You know what I'm saying? But I don't really want, other than just speaking on the information that's been put out there, I don't want to, like, go too much into it. But it sounded crazy to me. If I have an opinion on it, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? The facts are mattered. If he did this, then he deserves to be punished. He deserves to be apprehended if he did these things. But if he did not, the same should happen to this accuser who's trying to slander this man potentially. Like, if these things did not happen, if she's just trying to make a quick buck off of this married man who she fooled around with because he's a millionaire, like, then that's crazy. She should probably be charged with this is like extortion if she's lying. But if Conor did these things, he's a piece of shit, and throw the book at that nigga at that point. Throw the book at that nigga, if that's my opinion on the situation. But if you guys want to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5podcast@gmail.com. If you guys would like to follow this podcast on Twitch, head on over to twitch.tv/Babylon5. You guys can cop some merchandise by heading on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my Niji, be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod, and you can be my patron today, ladies and gentlemen. I'd appreciate it so much. And if you guys are here to hear about the fights, all right, last night we had UFC Fight Night Vettori Cannonier. My pick last night was that Vettori was going to overwhelm Jared Cannonier with his cardio, with his wrestling, with his volume of strikes. I figured he'd be all over him. And when the night came, ladies and gentlemen, it was the other way around. All right. Jared Cannonier came very close to finishing Marvin Vettori last night. Marvin Vettori has never been finished. And at the end of the second round, it was like, whoa, like, I don't think he's going to survive this. He looked so bad. He looked completely gassed out. He was getting beat up, and it just continued from that point on. He was just getting his ass beat in there. Jared Cannonier I think he had like 3 takedowns. He's not known for his takedowns. Vettori's known to take people down. And Vettori went for one takedown in this fight, and he got it. Otherwise, he's getting pieced up in the stand-up, getting hurt repeatedly by Cannonier. And he wasn't grappling. He was choosing not to grapple. Wasn't trying to initiate clinches. Because in space, Cannonier was just lighting this boy up. In the first round, Cannonier got hurt early, and it seemed like Vettori was going to finish him. Like, maybe within the first 2 minutes of the fight, it was a big dramatic moment. But after that point on, Cannonier, like, it was the Cannonier show from that point forward. Cannonier at 39 years old, 10 years older than Marvin Vettori, just beat the shit out of him. He looked better than he has in that octagon this entire time. Looked better than he's ever looked in the octagon at 39 years old, man. He looked great. Went all 5 rounds. Didn't look tired at all. He's just got insane cardio, and he's somehow improving. Looking better at 39 years old. So my hat's off to Jared Cannonier, man. I thought Vettori was going to put a pace on that boy. That boy put a pace on Vettori. Cannonier says he would like to either have a title eliminator fight for his next fight, or he wants to be the backup for Adesanya's next title defense. Cool with that. I'm not sure who Vettori fights next. I know he's like cool with Sean Strickland. He said he would fight Khamzat Chimaev, but I thought he was like kind of cool with Khamzat. I thought they all had like a whole text chain where they be just chatting all the time. That's what I thought was the case. But whatever. It's the fight business. You know what I'm saying? It's the fight business. But I don't know where he goes from here. He's 29, as they kept pointing out. So he's got a lot of time to improve, work on the mistakes of this fight here. But Jared was just all over this man. All over Vettori this fight. If the corner wanted to stop it going into, I don't know, because I'd say at the end of the fourth, Vettori did outstrike Cannonier. Let's look at these stats here. Yeah, so in the fourth round, Vettori outstruck him 37 strikes to 32. So I would understand that, maybe at the end of the fourth, you're like, shit, we don't need to stop this. But I think you did, because Vettori was getting his fucking ass beat in there. All right? He was getting destroyed. Maybe you should have stopped it at that point. It looked wild. Vettori got destroyed. I did not see it coming like that. I didn't say it to you guys. I was recording myself watching these fights just in case something interesting happens. And I was saying I'm rooting for Cannonier, but I feel like Vettori was going to win. But I'm happy to see Cannonier get the W. Definitely happy to see Cannonier get the W, man. In the co-main event, you had Arman Tsarukyan defeating teammate Joaquim Silva. It's funny because his teammates call him Joe, but the commentators were pronouncing it Joaquim. So it's just, I don't know. It's like, what do you call it? Doesn't matter. Anywho, Arman Tsarukyan defeats teammate Joaquim Silva via third round TKO, but Silva made a great account of himself, almost finished Arman. Had Arman on skates. My boy was out there dancing. Dance, monkey, dance, monkey, dance, monkey, oh. That was Arman Tsarukyan in the second round of that fight. When he was touching Arman in the first round, I'm sitting here thinking, dude, he's hurting Arman. Arman is clearly more skilled of a striker. He has more tricks, more tools to operate here. But when he's coming close and Silva's catching him with that quick, it's like a short hook that he kept catching Armin with, and he would hit Armin, and I was like, yo, man, he's hurting Armin. It looks like he's actually hurting Armin. And then in the second round, he caught Armin with something nice and had my boy fucking dancing in there. It was looking bad for Armin. It was looking bad. Armin was able to survive, and in the third round, he was able to come out there, take him down, and get the finish. But Joaquim Silva showed that he belongs. You know, he looked good. He looked fucking powerful. Like, the sides of Arman Sarukian's face were, like, swelled up and cut. Like, everywhere that Joaquim hit that dude, it was, like, swelled up in a way I've never seen before. I've never seen a fighter look like that before. That dude's got some power.
I found this on the web.
I don't know what that's. That dude's got some power. So, yeah. I don't know what happens to him here. Like, nobody expected him to beat Arman Sarukian, but he looked great. All right? He looked great in there, and he almost upset Arman. It's a really good fight. Arman Petrosyan versus Christian Leroy Duncan. Christian Leroy Duncan was, like, doing some super cocky-ass shit. I didn't see the second round. When the first round ended and I looked at my fucking Twitter feed, I realized at that point that my feed was behind like 6 minutes or so. People were tweeting out their scores for the end of the second round and even talking about what's happening in the third round. I was like, what are you talking about? First round is about to end. And I refreshed my stream and was like, dude, it's the third round. How did my stream get so far behind? So, like, I didn't see the second round. I saw the first round. Christian Leroy Duncan didn't look to be too accurate with his striking. And it looked like it was frustrating him, but he was starting to taunt. And at the end of the first round, he was doing this shit where he turned and had his back to Petrosyan and was backing up, coming at Arman Petrosyan with his back to Petrosyan. And I was just like, yo, this is the wildest shit. I was like, I'm concerned about Christian Leroy Duncan. And he ultimately lost. I was not impressed with what I saw in there. It looked pretty bad. So congrats to Petrosyan, who went in there and did the damn thing. Pat Sabatini looked like a monster. All over Lucas Almeida. It was a second round finish, but he damn near finished him in the first round. He was all over Lucas Almeida. Shout out to Pat Sabatini out of Philly. You got Manuel Torres finishing Nicolas Mata in the first round via knockout with a nice, perfect elbow. He hit him with that elbow, and like Mata looked knocked out. The second that elbow landed, his eyes shut, he was out. All right? It was over the second that elbow landed. It was beautiful. Yeah. Shout out to Manuel Torres. Nicholas Dalby defeats Muslim Salikov. Dude, Dalby, man. Every time I see Dalby fight, I'm like, dude, I like this dude. And I bet if I pick him for his next fight, in a fight where it looks like he should win, where he's the favorite, he's going to go out there and get dominated. He looked great against Muslim Salikov. He looked like he was in the wrong weight class. Or at least like him and Salikov were, I don't know, Salikov had gigantic arms. But Dalby's a huge person, man. This whole weight bully thing is real. But congrats to Dalby. Alessandro Costa just destroys Jimmy Flick, dude. Flick, I don't understand how that guy made it to the UFC with what I'm seeing. I don't understand it. He looks pretty bad in there. Kyung Ho Kang gets a rear naked choke over Christian Quinones. in the first round. Pretty interesting. Carlos Hernandez versus Denise Bondar went to decision, technical decision. Was originally a knockout victory for Carlos Hernandez. But then via the replay, they're saying that when Carlos Hernandez slammed Dennis Bondar to the ground, Carlos Hernandez's head clashed with Bondar's head. So they're saying the headbutt, well, it looked clearly like he was out after the headbutt. So that when the heads clashed, it knocked Bondar out. So that rescinded the knockout and sent it to a decision. But Carlos had been winning that fight already, so it was unanimous decision for Carlos Hernandez. Would have sucked for him if Bondar was winning the fight and then that happened. And then it went to decision and they gave it to Bondar. That would have been crazy. But whatever, the right man won that fight. Teresa Bleda defeats Gabriela Fernandez. Fernandez has no idea what to do if she gets taken down, and she doesn't seem to be too prepared to prevent that from happening. So she's definitely got a lot of work to do there. She doesn't know how to get up at all. She just lays there pretty much. It's pretty weird. You got Ronnie Lawrence versus Daniel Argetta. So Keith Peterson, you had a highlight moment from Dominic Cruz in the night because Keith Peterson was reffing Ronnie Lawrence versus Daniel Argetta. And Argetta had Ronnie Lawrence in a submission. He had him mounted, and what is that? The guillotine? Is mounted guillotine? He's going for a mounted guillotine, and Ronnie Lawrence's hand kind of raises, but he doesn't tap. But it kind of like is just like waving as if he was about to tap. And Keith Peterson walks up and just stops the fight. And Hillman's like, I didn't tap. And he's like, yeah, I saw it. And he's like, I didn't tap. And Peterson's like, nah, I saw it. Then they go to the replay. And they're like, yeah, he definitely never tapped. He didn't tap at one point there. So then it was switched to a no contest. Originally a submission victory for Argetta, but because there was no actual submission, it was ruled no contest. Dominic Cruz was just going in on how Keith Peterson is ruining people's lives with his terrible decision making. Like, he's just going in on Keith Peterson. I cannot believe that they would let him do that. I can't believe they're not saying, hey, Dom, do not mention this again. I can't believe they're not saying that. But once again, another card, another fucking week of Dom just trying to shit all over Keith Peterson. It's pretty interesting. Main event, you had Modestas Bukauskas versus, or that's not the main event, first fight of the card, Modestas Bukauskas versus Zach Pauga. I thought Pauga won the fight. Somehow they gave it, one of the judges gave all 3 rounds to Modestas Bukauskas. That was weird to me. If you look at the stats, if that means anything, I guess it doesn't necessarily, because the person who does more according to the stats doesn't always win the fight. So Pauga outstruck Modestas Bukauskas in every round. I feel like in the first round, Modestas was landing more of the powerful shots, but by the second round, Pauga was coming in there and was like really turning it on, really putting it on him, and he was like getting hit but still coming forward, and then like he was the one that was really putting it on Bukauskas. So I did not agree with that decision at all. But unfortunately, that's just how things happen sometimes, ladies and gentlemen. It's just how things happen. It was a great night of fights. If you guys did not see that, go ahead and check it out. Next week, we have Josh Emmett returns to face Ilia Topuria. All right? Ilia Topuria El Matador. What is this? I'm going to do this live. I don't know what this is. Oh, it ain't nothing. Anywho. Josh Emmett versus Ilia Topuria. It's interesting because, this fight's out of Jacksonville. It's pretty interesting because these men, they have a lot of power. They're known to knock a nigga out, if you will. The part I was going to say is interesting is the fact that Ilia Topuria is usually the shorter guy in there. And he's going to come in there with a 1-inch reach advantage for the first time. But these guys, man, they're just known to fucking throw him. This fight has to be exciting, honestly. Given how these two gentlemen roll, this fight could be very interesting. But I personally feel like it could be interesting for the for the 1 or 2 rounds that it's gonna go, if that. I say at max 2 rounds before someone is finished in this fight. I don't see it going 5 rounds, dude. Topuria is a beast. He can fuck you up with the standing. He's so fast, so powerful. His jiu-jitsu's great. Doesn't usually need to display it because the hands are so crisp. The hands are so crisp, you don't get a chance. And then if you can get a chance to get in there, you find out, oh shit, he's amazing at this too. I'm definitely going with El Matador. Going with the Matador. Ilia Topuria in here, man. I just want to look at these stats. As I said, Ilia Topuria coming in with a 1-inch reach height advantage, but with a 1-inch reach disadvantage to Josh Emmett. But I think what's most important here, outside of the age factor, you got Ilia Topuria, born in January 21st, 1997. Josh Emmett, born March 4th, 1985. 1985. Huge 12-year difference in age here. And Ilia is just young. He's about to come in hot. All right? He's undefeated. He's got that momentum. And yeah, I'm gotta roll my boy. But as I was saying, the thing that I think is most interesting here, if you look at the strikes landed per minute, most importantly, the accuracy. So Josh Emmett lands at a 37% clip, while Ilia Topuria lands at a 49% clip. So basically half of what he throws at you is going to land. Very accurate. And the defense or whatever, pardon me, looks to be the same here at 62%. But it shows that Josh Emmett absorbs about 4.5 punches per minute, while Topuria absorbs about almost 3 per minute. So it says the defense is pretty much the same, but as I'm saying, Josh Emmett absorbs more per minute. He's a lot older. We'll see what happens in here, man. But everything in here to me tells me that Topuria is going to win this fight, man. I think to beat Topuria, to really give that man some trouble, you got to be like the Jai Herbert or something, where you're taller than him. You have these other physical advantages, because that dude's just going to be too fast and too skillful for someone his size to just step in there and think it's going to be sweet. I don't think so. I don't think so at all, ladies and gentlemen. Another interesting fight on this card I'd like to talk about. Macy Barber. All right, we got Macy Barber taking on Amanda Ribas. And I was on I was on the train. I was on the bandwagon for both of these ladies at some point. But at this point, I'm basically soured on the both. As you see, the favorites here, Amanda Ribas, slight favorite, minus 175. Macy Barber, plus 145. Underdog. I feel like, I first feel like Tapology needs to update their information because Macy Barber does not train out of right here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. She used to train here in Milwaukee, but she, I believe, trains in Sacramento with Uriah Faber and Corey McKenna. They post online all the time like they're best friends, and they just go and do everything together. She trains out of Sacramento. Tapology, get at your boy if you need people to be out here updating your information. I'll do that job because I'm on your website pretty much every day. But as Ribas is the favorite here, I feel like she is for good reason. She should have a huge advantage in the grappling aspect. I almost want to say they're kind of even in the striking, where I'd give Macy just like the slightest of edges. But Ribas has looked a little better. Like when I went and saw her fight, who was the last person she fought? I can click it right here. Fuck. I think it's like another Amanda. And that was another Brazilian, right? Oh, Viviane Arujau. I thought Viviane Arujau was going to dominate. But she was working Viviane Arujau with the hands. Viviane Arujau let Ribas look like a monster with the hands in the last fight. And I don't feel like she's going to see that kind of success against Macy. I think Macy's a lot tougher and just, she's got that karate background. She just comes from striking. So she's going to be a little better there. But I don't think Macy is going to, from what I've seen, she was able to get back up when she was taken down in was it her last fight? Who did she fight? Oh, Andrea Lee, Jessica Ai, maybe Montana De La Rosa took her down, but she's looked good when she was taken down. She's able to get back up. She looks much improved, Macy Barber, that is. Damn, she's 25. I guess that being the youngest champ thing is out the window. She used to have a countdown they'd interview her about being the youngest champ. I guess they don't mention it anymore. I'm going to try to stop hating. But, yeah, I'm definitely going to have to go with Ribas in this one. I think she just, that grappling, like, advantage there, I think it's just going to be too much for Macy Barber. But I'm just hoping for a good fight. Dude, another fight on here. Brendan Allen versus Bruno Silva, dude. I'm excited for this fight. And I'm definitely all in on Brendan all in Allen, dude. People seem to be pretty high on Bruno Silva. I thought he looked really good in his last fight. That's the best I feel like I've seen him look. Yeah, it's pretty much, he beat Brad Tavares in his last fight. I think Brendan Allen is just going to be better than him everywhere. Brendan Allen's a fucking dog in there. Big fan of Brendan Allen. That's an exciting fight. On paper. That's an exciting fight. Neil Magny versus Philip Rowe. Zhalgas Zhumagulov. Like, I feel like this guy is scheduled to fight on every week's cards. He's scheduled to fight this guy Joshua Van next week. I swear he was just scheduled to fight yesterday. He should have fought yesterday. Yeah, he should have fought Felipe Burns yesterday. And then he should have fought Rafael Estevam back in May. And on the same night, he was supposed to fight Nate Maness back in May. Just put that man on every card. He's never fighting again. All right. He's currently on a 3-fight losing streak, but he's currently at the peak of his popularity. He's a celebrity for the diehards. Shout out to Jamal Emmers. Jamal with the extra L. Gotta roll with my boy Jamal in here. It's gonna be a good card. Tabitha Ricci versus Jillian Robertson. That's an interesting fight. Jillian just beat Tabitha Ricci's teammate, who was it, Piera Rodriguez? It might have been Piera Rodriguez. Okay, her name is Piera Angela Rodriguez Giunta. And I could have sworn Tabitha Ricci was in this girl's corner. Maybe I'm wrong. Because when I click the affiliation, I don't see. But I could have sworn. No, I don't know, that's what I'm saying. Tapology doesn't necessarily always have the most up-to-date information. So she is fighting. I know when they announced the fight like the next day, that Tabitha Ricci was in the corner of the girl that Jillian Robertson beat. And then they announced this fight the next day. I was like, that's pretty interesting, because she was just there. I guess she feels like she saw something in Jillian that her teammate wasn't able to exploit that she can. But yeah, these are going to be some good fights next week, man. 14 fights scheduled with Zalgis on the card. I guess we're automatically going to get dropped down to 13. Let's hope it doesn't drop down to 12. But if it does, that's better, because your boy is going to be at work until about 12:30. So I won't be able to see the first few fights unless a few fights gets canceled, because then they usually like just push back the start time. Like if one fight gets pushed back, then they push it back like 15 minutes. Like if the card's supposed to start at 6, it doesn't start till like 6:15. They'll be like, and now we got this nigga, blah 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 blah. That's literally how it does every time. It happened last time, so it's just how it goes. But yeah, it's gonna be some good fights. I forgot to put it in here, but dude, there's a PFL event this past weekend. Jon Jones and Francis Nganou come face to face, and they fucking let me see if I can find it actually, because I'm thinking I could just probably go to Twitter. They come face to face in the entire room. Okay. Like all the ring girls, the entire audience. They got I seen Dan Hardy was in the octagon or whatever they have there, the smart cage, and everybody just like stopped what they were doing to watch this. Let's see. Yeah, let's see. Scene 3. Let's see. She made us drinks. Alright, let's see what these niggas is talking about when Jon Jones and Francis come together. You don't want no smoke, Francis. Francis is like, I want all the smoke. In your division. Yeah, this is so cool. Everybody. That took you 3 years, huh? It's so cool. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, that shit gives me goosebumps. Gives me goosebumps, and it pisses your boy off because we'll never see that fight. It'll never happen. Especially where we're at. But that fight, oh my God, I want it so bad now. There's no other fight I want more than that fight right now. They faced off at PFL. Jon Jones wearing the PFL shirt. And this is the one fight I want, and we'll never see it. Best chance we get at having this fight is if right then in that video, Francis just steal on him. Nigga, fuck all that. Oh, it's easy to talk from across the street. Nigga, I said cross the street. Bah! Steal on that nigga. Then cross the street, John. Cross the street. Damn, that moment got me hyped. That's a good ass moment, but it's a fight we'll never see. We will never see that fight, unfortunately. But if you guys would like to follow this podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Babylon5Pod. You guys can email this podcast at Babylon5Podcast@gmail.com. If you guys would like to follow this podcast on Twitch, head on over to twitch.tv/Babylon5. If you guys would like to cop some merchandise, head on over to teespring.com/store/BOFpod-shop. And lastly, don't just be my niggy. Be my patrons. Head on over to patreon.com/Babylon5Pod and you can be my patron today. Thank you guys so much for being here for the 200th episode. Yeah, as I said, it doesn't really mean anything other than this is just the chronological order. It's number 200. So thank you guys for being here for 200 weeks. If you've been here, you're the man. I'll buy you a cookie if you want. Let me know your address. I'll order Insomnia for you niggas. And I appreciate you guys so much. All my new subscribers, all my old subscribers, new gods, old gods. Thank you guys so much. Hope you guys are taking care of yourselves and each other. And I'll see you when I see you. I'll holla.